Welcome everyone, Tactical Lich here, and today we are back on the battlefield in the modded tournament. This time we're fighting against the MTK clan's Terrain. Not the Turin, the famous YouTuber, but Terrain, T-U-R-A-Y-N. A little bit of alteration to the name. Anyways, for the armies here, we are playing as the Familiars, while my opponent is playing as the High Elves. So for a bit of an army rundown, we have a front line of Bogglers, a second line of Fim Warriors, providing a bit of a sturdier infantry line. Not that sturdy like a staunch line of spears, but definitely trait better than mere chaff of Bogglers. On the flanks there, we have some mobility, more hounds, the demonic hound unit of the Familiar faction. Right next to them, there are some Nakalavis. Not sure what they are, I just know that they're a very strong anti-armor unit. Actually, they look quite freaky, like human bodies, human torso fused onto a demonic gold horse thing. A lot of exposed entrails, and I do not want to look at them on a close-up. Oh wait, that makes sense actually. They are a demonic unit, so they suffer from demonic instability. Also explains their freakish appearance. But yeah, in the game they basically functions as blood crushers minus the heavy armor with flaming attacks, magic attacks, and armor piercing. At the back there, we have 3 units of Vienna themes, basically Familiar Warriors, but with a different name. Leadership-wise, we have the Familiar Bale Fiend of Fire coming in with only Burning Head, as I was expecting to roast some staunch lines of spears with a bit of breath spell. For the leadership, we have Familiar Rock Noble leading the army. I was trying to hope to see if we can use that fight or die melee attack buff to support my unit using the Vienna themes to punch through enemy infantry and get onto the back line. Now for my opponent here, the High Elves are going for a signature spear box. They're protected by Sylvan Guards on the flanks and regular spears in the front. A second line of Lothern Sea Guard with White Lions of Strays in the mix, and then further back Sisters of Avalon. Of course, this expensive missile core means that they need even more protection, so at the further back, we have some White Lions of Strays flanked by 2 spears protecting the rear. Leading the army, we have Teclis on his Rainbow Pigeon. The Skittleburst gives him quite a bit of tankiness with more healing and also more survivability with physical resistance and flame resistance. Spell-wise, he did bring Regrowth and Flock of Doom, 2 very cost-efficient spell, while he also has his Bound Fiery Convocation with 2 uses only. Of course, Teclis did bring his unique item, the Potion of Sharoy. I do think that it is a very strong item, providing not only healing, but that plus 40% damage resistance, making Teclis super tanky in even the most dangerous scenarios. And yeah, that's it for the army builds. Now let's get the battle started. Now without any missiles, of course, my only choice is to rush forward, though Teclis will be moving up quite cheekily, maybe trying to do some psycho charging against my Bogglers. The spear formations have been properly set up ready to unleash hell upon any approaching threats, like these Bogglers who will be shredded by a ton of missiles. Of course, they are doing their job here, absorbing the missiles not only from the Lothern Sea Guard, but also from the more valuable ammo of the Sisters of Avalon, while my mobility will be flanking around, trying to poke holes on this spear box, exploit any weaknesses to shut down the Sisters of Avalon, as my infantry are now pushing forward, occupying the attention of the spear defenders. Some of these volleys of arrows are directed towards the Familiar characters, but they do have that character missile resistance plus a bit of from the mist. Oh, actually they do not have that. They just have the regular Familiar missile resistance plus from the mist. Still, 45% of missile resistance, making them rather tanky against any shooting. I'll be unleashing a bit of a hell against my opponents here. The spears got roasted by a Burning Head, but I also suffered from my own success, burning my own Bogglers at the same time. Now, with one of the Bogglers completely annihilated by some friendly fire, very literally, the Familiar Warriors, the Theme Warriors, the infantry-sized Familiars, are now getting burnt by a Fiery Convocation as well. Flock of Doom here draining the hit points away from my Vienna themes, and the Theme Warriors and Bogglers doing some great damage over time, over a long course of battle, sustaining that damage output for Teclis. As for the middle here, it's a bit of a mess as both sides have units breaking. Some of my Vienna themes has been pushed off by the armor piercing and anti-large of my opponents, especially with the Sisters of Avalon focus fire, but that also opened up a bit of a backline hole, allowing the Nakalavis and the Moorhounds to jump in and shut down the Sisters of Avalon. I'll be following up with a second Burning Head here, roasting some Loven Sea God and of course some of these White Lions of Trades. Unfortunately, more friendly fire on my Theme Warriors, but I will be willing to pay this price. Bogglers now regrouping and will be fighting against White Lions, while one of my Nakalavis has been eliminated due to that demonic instability. The other one as well, no, actually one of them is gone, or maybe both of them is gone. Oh no, all my Nakalavis is gone. Oh wait, no, there's the one here. It's just that one side of Moorhounds and Nakalavis have been eliminated, with these fresh ones jumping in now, jumping on top of the Sisters of Avalon, making sure that they're not firing anytime soon. The problem is that there are some spears moving in, so their light armor means that they'll be taking quite a bit of damage from the anti-large attacks. Now, as for the infantry fight, things are looking quite even, maybe? The middle fight is won by the High Elves for sure, as my Fianna Themes are surrounded by White Lions and Spears, but I'll also be pushing back the flanks with a combination of Theme Warriors, Bogglers, and some more Hounds on the other side. Burning Head going down onto some White Lions,
reinforcing with Bogglers. The White Lions are a bit overwhelmed right now and will be broken off. After all, they have taken quite a bit of damage from the Fianna Themes, and now with the armor sundered, they are taking more damage from Bogglers as well.
The Fianna Themes are still fighting over here using their heavy armor to tank away the anti-large damage of Spears. Not exactly the greatest trait for them, but it's not that there are any better traits around here. Nakalavi is on their last leg here, trying to go after Teclis, but I did not realize they do fire damage, so a lot of that damage potential has been wasted here, beating down a Teclis that has flame resistance of 40%. Although the fire damage does slow down the healing, making things a little bit better for me,
just mitigating some of the Teclis OP regrowth, making him waste a little bit more winds of magic on healing.
At the same time, I'll be dropping in the tier 3 army ability, the Feral Bog Beast, who are now using their mass to pin down Teclis, hoping that the Femirak Noble can jump in and start beating down Teclis, but
things are often better in expectations than in reality, because the Bog Beast doesn't seem to do too much against Teclis right now. The Bog Beasts have some clunky models and they're not doing all that much damage to Teclis right now. Anyways, once again, 2 wind spells of Flames, Burning Head, and Fiery Convocation, roasting friends and foe alike on both sides. Sovereign Guard, despite being a staunch spear unit, they have taken quite a bit of damage from the wind spells and of course being sundered in terms of armor by the Femirs.
Unfortunately for me though, Teclis has flew back into the skies and has escaped the clutches of my monstrous units, now going after the more Hounds who are chasing down these routed High Elf units, even shattering the Sisters of Avalon. Very great for me for sure, eliminating these kind of missile support, while Bogglers will be going after the Sisters of the Avalon on the other side, hoping to tie them down, as the Moorhounds are maneuvering back to the main blob fight, trying to deliver a bit of a rear charge and eliminate the remaining Sovereign Guard. But this is easier said than done, because they are indeed some very stubborn elves with high leadership. Now over there, Bogglers, who have been tying down the Sisters of Avalon heroically, has been terrified away by Teclis, so the Sisters might as well come back soon and start firing. But I'll be dropping in a Burning Head in the desperate attempt to rout away these Sisters of Avalon, but as an elite elfin unit, just some fire on their face is not enough to rout them off, so they'll be holding and shooting, eliminating some more of my remaining Fianna Themes, who have taken substantial casualties and their leadership is way too low for the From the Mist ability to activate at 50% leadership. So yeah, the missile resistance has been significantly dropped and their armor doesn't protect them against the armor piercing of Sisters of Avalon. I'll be jumping in some more Hounds, using their numbers to swarm the Sisters. Even their relatively good melee stats for a missile infantry is not going to help them here, as they are now devoured by my demonic Hounds. My rest of the army are just lagging behind right now, as they are not as fast as a Hound unit. Now these more Hounds are jumping on top of these poor Loven Sea God, who does not have charge defense against all, so they're not going to work against the infantry-sized more Hounds, and the Loven Sea God will be taking that charge damage and get routed. these spear as well being burnt by the burning head, leadership suffering a bit of an ability debuff, they will also be pushed away. So let's have a look at the battlefield here. My opponent, most units are pretty tattered, just some beleaguered spears still standing around, providing a not so staunch line of spear. But the problem is that Teclis is still very healthy and with still some healing left. 2 uses left on the Potion of Shiroi and possibly Regrowth in the pocket if he's gonna use it at all. Probably doesn't even have to use Regrowth and just keep spamming Flock of Doom because, well, Potion of Shiroi is indeed healing. Just like here, Flock of Doom, seeing that my units are quite blobbed up,
the Moorhounds are getting buffed by Fight or Die, but that melee attack and leadership boost is not going to save them. As soon as they get hit by Flock of Doom and the presence of an Arcane Phoenix, their leadership immediately dips into demonic instability.
Well, over here, Bogler is fighting Sylvan Guard with the support of the Femirak Noble. My rest of the units will be reinforcing this fight with a bit of monstrous presence. Burning Head dropping down on top of the Sylvan Guard, hoping to use that burnt leadership debuff to rout them off, and indeed they rout. The problem is that Teclis is also in the fray, dropping into the fight and sniping out my Femirak Noble. The Noble is fighting valiantly, but his melee defense stats is only at 42, while Teclis, having 46 melee attack, can still consistently land hits on my poor Femirak Noble.
Also very smart play from our opponent. They're pulling Teclis out of the blob while the spears were still fighting for a bit, and then send him back in to refresh that charge bonus.
So right now, the Femirak Nobles and his supporting units will be focusing on eliminating the Sylvan Guard support, forcing Teclis to fight in this blob. Not that it's gonna matter too much anyways, because most of my units are quite tattered, and the Femirak Noble being a quite cumbersome unit surrounded by more cumbersome units, he is having a bit of trouble to pull himself out of this fight. Anyways, the Vienna themes are surrounding Teclis, beating him down, especially with that Sundered Armor debuff, allowing my units to do a bit more damage, not that it matters, with mostly armor piercing from my units.
Anyways, unfortunately at this point the Vienna themes no longer holds their leadership and will be terror routed for a bit by Teclis. This means there are no more units to shield the Femirak Noble from Teclis Rainbow Pigeon's direct hits. The Femirak Noble is making his last stand, fighting back valiantly, but with such a low HP, he can't really do much against the Skittles bird. Now the Vienna themes have regrouped and will go for another charge against Teclis.
Teclis also down to around half health, but this might just be too late as the Vienna themes are so very tattered. Their leadership is no longer holding up, making them susceptible to the terror routes. And there goes army losses. Victory belongs to the staunch line of spears once again. GG to my opponent, Terrain from the MTK clan. Also, MTK clan is the one hosting this Troll Crown Cup and this modded tourney, so big thanks to the MTK clan and their members for inviting me to cast this tournament. Now, for the army performances here, perhaps I shouldn't have charged in the Femirak Noble in the end. Just leave the Balefiend against Teclis before the Vienna themes comes back. And then, with the support of the remaining Vienna themes, I can send in the Femirak Noble to perhaps shut down Teclis. But alas, it is too late for that. And, well, Teclis outduel the much more tattered Femirak Noble. The Femir Balefiend actually did a lot of damage, both in melee and in spellcasting, burning down a ton of expensive high elves, while the Vienna themes mostly doing okay. Not the best, but also not the worst. The Nikolavis earned back most of their value, actually earned back their full value, as they cost 1,000 each. Now their aggregate value is over 2,000. They are a very solid unit, actually shut down the Sisters of Avalon. Yes, they also suffered losses easily with their very glass cannon stats, but
they seem to have quite a bit of potential when fighting the right units.
Theme Warriors didn't do that much damage. I assume they can't break through the staunch line of spears, while the Moorhounds did some okay work. One of them did some okay work. The other mostly just tied down Avalon Sisters and died. As for the Bogglers, well, they're cheap chaps, so not much to say about them. On the other side, we have the High Elves Teclis, definitely single-handedly carrying the late game scenario with their Flock of Dooms and the heal and keeping his hit points up, keeping that balance of power high so that it can eventually crush my army mentally with the death of their general. For the missile line here, One of the sisters earned back their own value, but the other missile units didn't do that well. Okay, actually, this Loven Seaguard did pretty well in shooting or melee grind, I assume, but anyways, not enough to carry the game on their own for sure without the help of Teclis. For the rest of the spears held, especially Silvern Guard, doing spectacularly against the heavily armored Famir faction, using their anti-large spears to poke down my monstrous units, and then the White Lions, they do have that armor piercing to wreck my unit. That's basically it for today's battle. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you want to see more Total War Warhammer multiplayer action, be sure to subscribe and check out my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical signing out.